3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hi, everyone. This is Tyler Lochner from Pixalate, the ad fraud, intelligence, and marketing compliance platform. And I'm here today with Reed Barker from Philo. Philo is one of the CTV apps that ranked very highly on our recently launched Publisher Trust Index, which ranks the overall quality of connected TV and mobile apps across the Roku, Amazon, Google, and Apple app stores. Reed, thank you for joining us. Can you go ahead and explain Philo and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Tyler. So I'm Reed Barker. I'm head of advertising at Philo, and Philo is a virtual MVPD, and that's sort of the fancy word. It says MVPD is what you describe, Comcast, Dish, and so we're a virtual one. So bring your own box. So it's 60 plus channels of entertainment, knowledge, and lifestyle content. You're carrying the same sort of channels that you would see from Viacom, Discovery, AMC, Hallmark, A&E. So a linear feed of Comedy Central on Comcast is the same as a linear feed on us. And what we've done is we've really leaned into the whole idea of programmatic advertising. So we're programmatic first. We didn't inherit a direct sales force and decided that, you know, if the future of advertising on television is going to be programmatic, let's lean into it in the best way possible. You know, and we're incredibly proud of, you know, our focus on the customer and how we really take an engineering approach to everything. So, you know, we built our own server-side ad insertion. We built our own transcode queue. We've done a whole lot of things, sort of in keeping with, in the tradition of, you know, our namesake, which is Philo T. Farnsworth, who invented television at the age of 14 in Idaho.
Well, yeah, thank you for that introduction. I think that's a fascinating origin for your name. And you mentioned you're programmatic first. Obviously, you know, 2020, the last few years, but especially 2020 was a really big year for programmatic. Our own data, we saw programmatic ad spend globally increased by about 2x last year. So, and it only continues to increase. And obviously with programmatic, and particularly in the open programmatic exchanges, you really need to focus on inventory quality if you want to stand out from the crowd. And based on our rankings, Philo, you guys have been a staple in the top 5 in our April and our May rankings. Can you share some best practices around inventory quality that maybe you can share with other publishers or the advertising industry at large? Because it's really an ecosystem that needs those best practices right now.
Yeah, certainly. I think for us, it comes down to really 3 things. One is, you know, we're a subscription service. So all of our, you know, ad calls are coming, you know, from our server-side ad insertion based on authenticated user who has signed up, you know, given us their name, their email address, maybe their phone number, maybe their credit card information. So we know that we have an authenticated user base, and we're sure that everything we're sending, because it comes from our own server-side ad insertion on the ad calls, is something that Philo is requesting and going to a user who is well known and within our ecosystem. I think the second thing is really just making sure that, you know, we keep our ads.txt and our adapps.txt up to date. You know, and if you're buying Philo inventory, you know, it's a very simple thing just to check and make sure that the numbers line up. If you're buying from, you know, a source, you need to make sure that source is a source that we've approved and has access to our inventory on that way. And the third thing is, even though we've leaned into programmatic, that doesn't mean that we've leaned into a free-for-all. It means we're very selective about who we work with on both the SSP and the DSP level. So, you know, we want to make sure that the partners we work with are, you know, reputable, have unique demand, and are people that, you know, we feel like if demand is coming through them, that demand is correct and that they're not, you know, perpetuating any fraud on their side.
Yeah, those are all really great tips. And, you know, Pixalate fully stands behind those industry initiatives like ads.txt, app-ads.txt, and we regularly publish benchmarks on the trends related to those. So it's great to hear you guys are so strong behind that as well. And then you mentioned fraud at the end there. What other tools, you know, in addition to the IAB's programs or other industry initiatives, what other tools do publishers need, or what other help do they need to combat ad fraud in connected TV? Because we know it's a really hot space, both for legit advertisers and for fraudsters as well right now.
Right. I think, you know, it's imperative for us to make sure that, you know, so programmatic is a lot of machines talking to machines. So we need to make sure that, you know, we're keeping up with the standards, we're keeping up, making sure and checking that the identifiers we're using to identify both our inventory, how that inventory is described, whether it's contextual or device, that's used for targeting, that all of those we maintain those and maintain the quality of all of our signals across the board. But it's also imperative on the buyers to actually be buying through reputable sources. I mean, I can tell you, if somebody's trying to sell you Philo inventory at a $5 CPM, they're not selling you Philo inventory. I mean, if something's too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, so, something my father said actually turned out to be true. So, that's sort of, I think that's what, and I talk to other publishers and they have the same sort of feeling. It's like, we're not selling fraud. If you're coming through one of our demand sources, you're buying, our published, our inventory. So just buyer beware, look who you're buying from, and if it is like really low rates, it's probably not CTV inventory.
Those are really great points, Reed, and things that people need to keep in mind as CTV grows. This really seems like it's set up to be the decade of CTV. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for joining us here. And we will continue to watch your progress on the Pixalate Publisher Trust Index.
Great. Thanks so much, Tyler.